Knowing how to calculate the drawer bank height using KCD software is really useful. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you the easiest way to figure this out. Now, I've added two drawer towers to my wall for this demonstration, and each one has a little bit different drawer configuration. When calculating the drawer bank height, I find it a lot easier to work in metric rather than imperial measurements. In my mind, it's so much easier to work with 2195 millimeters instead of 86 and 27/64 inches. So let's go ahead and change this to millimeters. So just on my tool ribbon here, change it over to metric, and you can see now the total gable height is 2195. Now when you have it set to level 3 dimensions, as you can see here, you can change the dimension levels. Level 3, you can see the height, but you can't see the overall drawer bank height. You can see a bunch of individual measurements, but it can get a little difficult adding all of those up. You would need to take into account the height of the kick, how much of the bottom fixed shelf you can see, the 3 mil reveals in between each of the drawer faces, and the amount of the top fixed shelf that's also seen. But what measurements do we have that makes this a little bit easier? I'm going to hide the doors and the drawers because when you're first starting out, this makes it a little bit easier to see the measurements. So we're just going to turn off the doors and drawer faces there. We can't see the overall drawer bank height, but we can see the overall space above the drawers. Now for the drawer bank height, we want to measure from the bottom of the gable to the top of the fixed shelf just above the drawers. So we want to come right to the top of this shelf. As you can see, the top measurement goes right to the top of this shelf. So that's perfect. However, it only goes to the bottom of the very top fixed shelf, and we need the measurement to go right up to the top of the gable. So the top shelf is 3/4 of an inch thick, or 19 millimeters, actually 19.05 millimeters, but we won't worry about that. Now, because of rounding issues with KCD, instead of adding 19 mils to the top shelf, we're going to subtract another 3 mils, or a total of 16 millimeters. Now, you're going to have to trust me on this one. So using 16 millimeters, it becomes a pretty simple math equation. Take the height of the opening and add 16 millimeters. So this first tower example on the left, it shows 1168 for the opening height. Add 16 millimeters, and this gives us 1184 millimeters. Now take the gable height of 2195 minus the 1184, and that gives us 1011 millimeters. Now this final measurement must match the gable length chart exactly. If you have any other calculation than what's on the gable length chart, you've made an error. So you need to go back and check your work. The best place to find the gable length chart is on the online ordering. And if you've got a product gable special drilling, just go to the I for information and click on that, and right there you'll find the gable length chart. So with this first one, we've determined that it's 1011 millimeters, and as you can see on the chart, the imperial measurement for that is 39.803 inches. Now for those of you who might not know how to convert metric to imperial, looking at the chart is by far the easiest way. But if you want to do this manually, sometimes you may not have a chart available. You need to memorize the measurement 25.4. Imperial numbers are always smaller than millimeters. So if I have 1011 millimeters, I need to make that smaller. So I would divide by 25.4 to get 39.803149, but if we round to the third decimal place, it comes to the 39.803. 25.803 inches. So just memorize 25.4 and you'll be able to convert millimeters to inches and vice versa. And it becomes very useful. Now let's quickly figure out the next drawer bank height in our second example using the information we just learned. The top opening height is 108 millimeters. Plus 16 gives us 1024 millimeters. The gable height is again 2195 minus the 1024 equals 1171. So let's take a look at that. 1171 on our chart works out to 46.102 inches. And that's the height of our second drawer bank. It's that easy, and I hope this helps.